Hello and welcome to the Iarmhi TV podcast for 2025. For 2025 we're going to start the year by looking at our county hurling and football teams as they make their way into the National Hurling and National Football League campaigns, both under new management as we know for 2025. We'll also be having a look at how our under 20 squads are progressing, both hurling and football, and also our minor squads, how they make their progress as they get ready towards their respective championships. We're sponsored as usual by Dr.ie, and again we thank them because they will be behind us for the next 10 weeks or so as we're going to be coming live starting next Monday night on Westmead's YouTube channel. So if you don't know me, you don't know some of the lads that's going to be on it, you'll get a look at their faces so you can be familiar with who's coming on as we work through these 10 weeks. Also, we want to thank Kieran Clark for, I know he sponsors the Junior 1 and Junior 2 football championships for Westmead, but he's also kindly provided the premises for us so that we can record these podcasts as well. So again, thanks to Kieran and his crew. And just for our listeners as well, every week we're going to have a little prize, a little question, and there'll be a giveaway every weekend. Or every week we'll announce the winner of this week's next week and so on as we go through, and we will have a bobble hat, a Westmead bobble hat for the winners. We'll keep things simple, but we'll just try and get a little bit more interaction from our supporters out there. Tonight I'm joined by, on my left hand side, Jerry Buckley. Everyone knows Jerry from his reporting, and he has a new book out, and we'll give that a plug as well. On my right hand side, Adrian Moore, former Longford manager, former Ringtown manager, and on my extreme right, Alan Mangan, current manager for Castleton Gagan, coming off a very successful 24, and we believe, Alan, you're in situ again for 2025, so I'm sure you'll be hoping to have an equally successful year coming up next year, or this year as it turns out. We're going to start, lads, by looking at the National Hurling League, and we'll talk a little bit about the hurling setup and what we know of what has happened since the teams come back. The National Hurling League, Westmead will play Waterford, Carlow, Offaly, Laois, Antrim and Dublin. It's probably fair to say it's an easier group than maybe what we had in the last couple of years, and it may be that we're in a group that maybe we find our own level at. But I'll tell you, Adrian, start with you there. They're an easy game in any of those six teams.
There's not, no, but I suppose it's where as Westmead hurling people want to be, it's where we want to be. We're still at competing with the top level counties, like your Waterford, Offaly are crawling their way back up. Dublin, Dublin winning the All-Ireland club today is a massive boost for them also. So as Westmead people, I think hurling people, that's where we want to be. We still want to be looking at as close to the top table as we can be, and not dropping down in the tiers.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you have plenty of your lads off your squad from last year involved this year. I don't know whether you've heard much or how things are going under the new management, but it seems to be a fairly good setup, a fairly professional setup in it anyway.
Yeah, well, sure, listen, it's like any setup now. If you're not professional, the players are going to call you out in it. But you look at the list of names there, like over the last few years, you'll be coming up against Galway, Limerick, teams that are going to give you, if you're not on your A game, you're going to get a trimming. But Westmead should be very, very competitive with all those teams there, right? Maybe if they're away to, I don't know if they're away to Waterford or at home, but if they are away to Waterford, that'll be a tough place to go, and even Dublin away will be also tough. But the other four teams, we should be well capable of beating them. But in any way, going forward for this county team, we just have to rebuild now. There's a few lads not coming back, if you're to believe the rumours, a few lads not coming back into the setup, but we've a lot of really, really good, strong young hurlers in that squad, and if we can get them to progress on to a new level, this division should bring them on a lot.
Jerry, looking at the group there, we have two teams that we're going to face further down, and we're starting off this weekend, as we're going to start in the Joe McDonagh with a game against Laois. Laois and Carlow will be joining us in Joe McDonagh. There's certainly two games that we, first game at home against Laois, and I suppose like everything, if we can get a good start, it'll get us a little bit of momentum, but that's a game that's winnable.
It is, and you mentioned that book I brought out there recently. It was a boring book, as I often say, about stats, but the facts don't lie, and like over the years our record against Laois is not good. Now we beat them in 2024, but you could argue that they mightn't have
A dead rubber game, yeah.
rubber game. But in general, our record against them is poor. And I wrote down a word here that I often use when I'm talking about these kind of fringe counties. I always use what I call cloak, CLOAK, Carlow, Laois, Offaly, Antrim, and Kerry. Now I know Kerry aren't our group this year, but of those kind of Carlow, Laois, Offaly, and Antrim, probably the last year or two, there was a time we were at least on a par with them or ahead of them. We might have slipped back a little bit, and I think while at face value, what happened last year, Laois is a winnable game. Our record against Laois isn't wonderful, and I think I personally think it's a tricky fixture to start the campaign.
It is, yeah, but it's nice to get them at home, Ed. And I think from a lot of my recollection, every time we seem to play Laois in an important game, we seem to have to go to Port Laois or whatever. So it's nice to get off and running on a home game.
Yeah, and I suppose there's two sides to the coin. And probably guilty of it myself over the last few years. We needed to see change in the Westmeath setup, in the Westmeath panel of 26 for game days. There's an awful lot of youth in there now at the moment. So, and Laois are probably not far off us as well in relation to a turnover in squad. But I think we're at the stage where we just need to give these guys a chance. However the result goes against Laois, however this league goes, it's about blood and new stock, giving them an opportunity to hurl, and that's the only way we're going to progress. Like, the one thing that I don't want to see personally myself this year is that when we're hitting towards the tail end of the league, that we're looking for lads to come back out of retirement, or begging lads to come back in. You go with what you have, you give them the opportunity to hurl, and let them express themselves and see what we can get out of it.
Yeah, Alan, the group starts off, actually you mentioned two teams, we actually have both of them in TG Cusick Park. We start off at a home game against Laois, followed by an away game, and I think Davy is going to do us a favour. He's not going to bring us up into the Glens. We're only going to have to go to Corrigan Park. So that's this weekend and followed the following weekend. We then have Dublin in a home game as well on Sunday, February 9th. A break then, we go to Tullamore. We've Waterford at home, the second last game, and our last game then is away to Carlow. So 3 home, 3 away. We have a break there in between. We've no game between the 9th of February and the 2nd of March. So I suppose that they'll get 3 games under the belt, and then I suppose as a management they'll reassess or whatever. But you'd be hoping that Adrian is saying it's true, that young lads are blooded and are given a little bit of time.
Well, that's what we're going to have to do now. We can't just keep going back to the 30-plus-year-old lads and begging them to come back in, like we did the last few years, trying to get them back on board. If they're not interested, not interested. These younger lads are not going to get any better unless we try and blood them in really good competitive matches. The Walsh Cup and all these pre-season competitions that are done away with now, like at the end of the day, they're not really that good for blooding young lads. No. You need to blood these lads in a really good competitive league campaign. Okay, the problem we have with this league campaign is the 4 teams that we would be expecting to beat, we've 3 of them away, and that's going to be tough. Like, going up into Antrim, into their backyard, is going to be an extremely hard place to go for this young outfit. But if we could get off to a winning start against Laois at home, they'll go up there with their tails high, and they'll be trying to come out there with some sort of a result. Even if you got a draw up there, something like that, it'd be great. But the first game is vital. If we can get a win at home, your home games are always vital in any league in any league campaign. If you can get a win at home against Laois the first day, it's going to be a serious boost for them young guys going up into Antrim, because it's a tough place to go.
Yeah, and just on the while both of us have concurred with playing all these young lads and giving them a chance, our management is in a situation where they're year 1, so they should be given the freedom of doing that. Like, with all respect to Joe Fortune, he came under savage pressure to start winning games last year, and so look, we've all been in that position, Alan, myself, yourself, Ray, that you come under pressure as a manager team, as a squad, when injuries start coming in, and you look to kind of the proved and tested guys. But I think both management and squad at this stage are at a stage where a lot of youth, new guys in, new management team in, give them the free rein to develop the squad.
Yeah, because we are at that stage. There is a transition very much in it. Now, you know, luckily there is some of those 30-plus-year-olds are still there. Tommy Doyle is still there. He'll be a huge asset to the young lads. Aaron Craig is still there. Good to see Robbie Gravel in as well. You know, there is a little bit of experience, which is what you need when you're going to start blooding young lads. You don't want to be throwing a young lad maybe straight in at centre back, you know, with two inexperienced lads either side of them. You know, that we have that little bit of experience, but, you know, in the backs and then up front. But one position I'd probably be worried a little bit about is, you know, our goalkeeper for the last couple of years has retired and is not going back in again. So, you know, it's a tricky position, and, you know, there's a couple of guys in there vying for it. I know Jack Gillen has played some of the challenge games. Kieran O'Brien is going to, he was Alan's goalkeeper throughout the campaign and acquitted himself very well last year, but again, he's inexperienced in there. So, you know, the county board really shouldn't be putting any pressure on Saoirse and his selecting team while they get this team, you know, moulded into a team that we can be, you know, look forward to watching further down the line.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Noel Connerty owes us nothing. I think he came in as a kind of a stopgap measure initially, and he's been there for a number of years. And if anything, he improved as the years went along, you know. And he owes us nothing. And he's a great interest, and it's not off the ground. He licked that, you know, in Westmeath hurling, and like on record, you know, to my appreciation of all he did for the county. But yeah, as we say, time moves on, and I've been kind of interested in this Jack Gillen experiment. He's a big lump of a lad, big, strong, powerful player. I suppose nowadays the lads are far more familiar with hurling than I am, but the goalie has become, as it has in football, a pivotal position. And it's no longer a matter of getting the ball and driving it as far down the pitch as you can. You have to be able to pick a lad out. And from what I hear, he's someone who might settle into that position. And can only wish him well, but it's an important position. I remember Shane O'Brien is back. When Shane was here, I'm not telling any state secrets, as manager, he had me mithered looking for records and what every goalie that ever played for Westmeath could he get his hands on one, you know, because I think he was kind of struggling with goalie. But if we could kind of nail down a goalkeeper who's going to play 2025 and hopefully much longer thereafter, I think it'll be a great start.
Yeah. It's Alan, I think if my memory serves me correct, you started your career there, but the only thing is you were very, very lucky that first year. You had a very experienced full back in front of you, so you would know the advantage of that.
Yeah, only for a year, eh?
Yeah.
No, listen, it's a pivotal position now. It's one of those, like, we had to go and try and get a goalie ourselves last year, and we got Kieran in, and I have to say he was outstanding throughout the whole year. But it's like the lads are saying, he's very inexperienced. I think he has only 7 championship matches under his belt for Castam, and to throw him right into a county setup, but he has more experience than Jack Gillen has at the same time. So listen, we're going to have to gamble here with someone. We were talking about these players coming back in, and we're talking about we still have 4 or 5. I have no problem with the 4 or 5 30, 31, 32 year olds playing, because they're in at the start, they're training, they're doing everything with the squad, and they're lads that you can't replace. The likes of Tommy Doyle, Robbie Greville, Dara Clinton, all these lads that are probably the wrong side of 30, let's say, or Dara would be close to it, but at the same time they're in now and they're training away. So it's all about getting the right fix for these lads, getting the right set up. The goalie is a big position. I hear they're playing one half each in all the games so far. So that's going to be a test to see next weekend. Whoever does get the nod next weekend, it's going to be a big game for them.
Yeah, it's all very well playing challenge games and giving 35 here, 35 there, but they're going to have to put their faith in one of those 2 guys. Just before we talk a little bit more about the team, just on a quick word on the management. You know, Saoirse has come in there, Saoirse Bulfin. We did get to interview him myself, and I interviewed him out in Mullingan before one of their training sessions, and he's very positive. He has Shane O'Brien, who we all know from his time here before. Am I right in saying he's our only manager to win? Joe McDonough. And he's in as a coach this time. We have David Stu Riley from Cloncail and Bald. Philip Gilston has come in from Brownstown. Now I think Saoirse has brought in, is it David Bulfin, his first cousin, as the goalkeeping coach. So there's plenty of experience in that group. There's a young, you know, neither David Riley nor Philip Gilson, you know, would have been involved with, say, certainly with Westmeath before. So it's a nice fresh blend. You know, they're coming in with really no baggage, looking at some of those older players, and I'm sure they'll be fair to every player, and that's really all you can ask for.
It is, and it's like, as Alan knows, when you're putting a management team together, your management has to work as well as your team. Like, there's going to be heated discussions over picking teams, and you know, I know that the Red, and it's been new to him, but he'll bring a burst of energy to it as well. You know, because when you go into something like a county setup like that, it's all fresh, it's all new. You'll be buzzing for it. I don't know the other Saoirse's cousin, but a goalkeeping coach it just comes part and parcel with any management setup. He has to be there, because as really as you spoke about, the goalkeeper is such an important role. Like, that's analysis of a goalkeeper. All his own analysis has to be done, has to be turned over and worked on again the following week after every game. So it's a full-time job every evening that you're coaching, that you need a goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, and Jerry, you know, these are all new lads as well, and there is plenty of young talent. We've been watching the championship throughout, you know, both intermediate, senior B and senior, and you know, there's a lot of young talent starting to come through in Westmeath. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Like, you look at that Castown team, like, and you have the likes of David Riley. Okay, he may be still suffering with that shoulder injury, but he's young. He's only 20, 21. Peter Clark, something similar. You know, Johnny Birmingham, Kieran O'Brien is there as well. You have the likes of David Williams, Shane Williams, good to see him back in from Loughlane Gales.
Keane McCarthy played yesterday.
Keane McCarthy played, young fella from Southern Gales. Mark Cunningham came in as a sub yesterday. Like, they seem to be giving everything, but you know, these young lads, I always maintain that it's all very well saying that such a lad was in before, but if you don't get a chance to show them, intercounty hurling takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, totally. Now it's still a tough group for young lads to come in. There's no doubt about that. Now I don't want to name any counties and be disrespectful to any counties, but we don't want to be back playing Division 3 hurling and giving lads chances at that level. It's a good level, but it's a difficult level unless you have a mixture of experience and to go with the youth. And you were mentioning the likes of Jogger Doyle, and that there'll be an onus on those lads to guide these lads through. My own theory is if you had an experienced full back, centre back, midfield, centre forward, full forward, spine of the team experience, you'll be able to bring these lads along. But you've mentioned a lot of names there. We saw some quality hurling in Westmeath last year. We've had good underage teams, and but it's certainly a tough division, but the only way we're going to find out is by bringing these lads in. I don't know an awful lot about the management other than our own lads, obviously David O'Reilly and Philip Gilson, and I only met Saoirse a couple of times. He's certainly enthusiastic. I don't know anything about his cousin as a goalkeeping coach, to be honest with you. I don't know his exact pedigree, but they're enthusiastic, and I think we're all unanimous about that they have to be given a chance, both the management and the players, and if there's a little bit of pain along the way, so be it. But we have to kind of stick with what we started with, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's vitally important for both hurling and football this year. We have to be patient with these two squads. There is a bit of let's just say transition with players going away and in both codes and stepping away from the setup. So it is going to take a while. It's going to take, please God, if we can consolidate our position in both these divisions. That's what we should be aiming to do this year, and not be getting on managers' backs or giving out about the players. These are all going to learn, and in 2 to 3 years' time, even next year, these lads will be an awful lot better again. But we just have to be patient.
Yeah, another young player now, again, I was very impressed with him throughout the championship here in Westmeath last year, is Eamon Cunningham. And looking at the team that played down yesterday, and just looking at the team that was here, I think that maybe only Eamon might be the only player that's on that hasn't featured on a Westmeath team before. Like Conor Gaffney's a young guy, he's had a year under his belt. You know, Gary Greble, good to see him back. You know, Peter Clark, we know what he's done. Davy Williams, Owen McCabe, all these guys have been in. But maybe Shane Williams was in before, I think, and took a break and has come back in again. So look at Alan, I think, has really hit the nail on the head. We need to be patient with these young lads. We have to stick with them. We don't have, you know, we can't be keeping going backwards the whole time. We have to have patience in these lads and bring them forward.
Yeah, and I suppose there's an onus on ourselves there as well. With like Jerry's job in media, and we're doing a small bit of media here as well. Like that, you know, we have to be conscious not to come in here and not be slating management, not be slating players. We all know everyone goes out to do their best. There's definitely things that are going to go wrong here. You know, there's going to be mistakes made. They're going to be under pressure, and I suppose we have to just revert back to what we're talking about now, is being patient. Give them. We're here to analyse games, what we can see and what we can, you know. But we're not here to shoot anybody down or anything like that. And I suppose we don't want it to come across as that way is the most important thing. and we don't want to be fueling fire that might be out there on other social media platforms.
The good thing about Eamon Cuneen is that I actually think he was one of the players of the championship last year. Even though Raharney didn't get out of the group, he was absolutely, the first game against us in Cusack Park on the Friday evening, can't remember what date it was, he was absolutely outstanding. And all the games that I saw Raharney playing, and I saw a good few of them, he was exceptional in the whole lot of them, and he deserves a chance. And also Shane Williams.
Yeah.
They were the two standout players in the championship of teams that we were analysing, and we really focused on the two of those. Shane Williams he's been there for a few years, but he never really got a chance.
Yeah.
And he needs his chance now. And maybe them few players that are stepping away, maybe them stepping away is going to open up a gap for him to take his chance, and he has to take it if he gets it.
I'd be delighted that these pre-season games are gone, because you're going out to a pitch maybe with 4 inches of grass on it. These guys they got their opportunity, they got the game, they didn't do anything, so you're on a level playing field now coming in, like hurling today up in Croke Park, I know it's a top level pitch and everything, but the day itself was the day that you'd want to be hurling compared to hurling 3 and 4 weeks and maybe even previous Christmas before a few years ago. So these pre-season games being gone, I think it's actually an advantage to the young guys. There's a small bit of a break more than what they had, but they have an opportunity to hurl, hopefully coming into better weather in a league that's actually a meaningful game that means something to everybody.
I think Shane Williams was initially a forward, but he was played wing back this year by the Gaels, and I think discovered an excellent wing back. I don't know what way the teams could probably be starting next week, but I would pick him at wing back. I was very, very good. And just as a general point, and I know I'm not skipping onto the football too quickly, but Alan mentioned there, I grabbed the hand off you this minute to survive in those two divisions. I think it'd be a great achievement if we're here, please God, at the end of March and we've stayed up in both. I think that would be 2 months very well achieved.
Yeah, it'd be great work by both. And another thing, just from watching some of the games, and I know I seen the charity game that was played from Sorsha had kind of culmination of his friendly games and stuff like that, and they seem to be persistent with Owen Keys in the half back line. Now that to me, it's a little bit of an experiment, I would say. He's a big man, he's good under a high ball, he's strong, but hasn't played in that area before, so it seems to be something that they're trying to work on.
Yeah, I suppose it's like all new management team comes in, they're looking, I know he's seen a good few championship matches or whatever, but different people see different things in different players, and I'd be fully open for all of those type of things. The same as Alan spoke with Shane Williams when he went back to wing back. If I had Shane Williams 5, 6, 7 years ago, even playing with the Gaels, I would have played him. I think he's going to make fantastic 6 because he has everything. He has a good hand, he's a good delivery of ball, and can track very well. So these are ideas that everybody has to be open to, and they're experimental. So at least we're seeing something different. It's something new.
Just the only bit of feedback I got they were after playing a couple of challenges, alright, but Owen Keys was a positive feedback that I've heard over the last couple of days, that he has been playing really, really well at wing back. He's strong, he's athletic, he's like if you look at the Limerick team, they've built their team around their half back line of size,
big
and strength,
men,
and big men.
Yeah,
and listen, we're not blessed with loads and loads of big men in Westmeath, but at the same time, if we can fill a half back line of big men, that's going to be a big.
And when you're talking with Owen Keys, like we're looking at that and says these other intercounty teams, big men, they're carrying the ball forward. Like Owen Keys, that's one thing he's very, very good at, is carrying the ball. Sometimes he ran out of the road because he was playing the full forward line, but he'd turn, he'd only 7 or 8 yards to carry it.
Yeah.
But he's a big, powerful man, very, very hard to stop.
But at the same time, club teams probably can't afford to play him in the half back line because they might need him. Like Raharney might need him further up the field. No more than ourselves at Castan. We've Liam Vardy playing in the half forward line this year, who would have played in your team, the Beck Kilkenny under 21 a few years ago. Adrian, he would have played centre back for you that day. Like, he's a really, really good half back, but beggars can't be choosers, and you need to use other lads in different positions where you're going to get used to it.
I don't think Castan is begging for anything now.
Let's see, but
well flourished with lots of hurlers.
Yeah, but it is a good point. You just have to go with
instinct, and it's a decision you made with part of your management team, and it worked. He became a free taker for Castletown when Niall was away, and very effective, and that's it. It worked.
And let's hope that the Owen Keys thing works. Like he's big and he's athletic and he's strong. He's going to have to learn to mark someone, and that's a big thing. A defender's job, number one job, is to get tight on their opposite number. If he can do that, he has all the other aspects in his game to improve.
Yeah, and look, he's a good striker of the ball as well. And I think the way the hurling ball travels anymore, like if you get a chance, from anywhere around your own 65, you're opening the shoulders and you're letting him rip at it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I haven't seen him play in the half back line, but the lads are making very good points about him, and I think he could adjust there all right,
See, in the middle of the field, even yesterday against Down, then Peter Clark and Eamon Cunningham, not blessed for size, blessed for pace and speed and skill. So you have to have big men in around them for winning that dirty ball and driving forward as well. So it's that mix. Westmeath in general have never been blessed with big men in either hurling or football, but we have lots of talent.
Look, we look forward with interest to see what team they do pick now for the weekend coming up. Just a quick one on Laois, lads. They've gone with a new manager this year. They had gone with a new manager this year, and unfortunately Darren Gleeson then had to step down, which I'm sure didn't really help their setup early in the year. And we don't Darren had to leave due to illness and had to step away from the job. But they brought in a local man now. I think a man who was there previously. So it might be a good time to get them. Like they were beaten in the McDonagh Cup final. Would have been disappointing for them. So this is a game that I think is a winnable game for Westmeath.
And it is, and as has been said, home venue, and I hope various managers have always pleaded for the Westmeath fans to come out next Saturday at 2:00. It'd be nice. You've all gone on the pitch as hurlers and go out to a dribble of applause. It'd be nice for those hurlers, the first match of the league, to go out to a good round of applause from genuine Westmeath fans. Laois are more or less our level, I would say, and if we can hit form in the day, it's definitely a chance to pick up 2 points. But it's a big ask, but I still don't think there's an awful lot between Westmeath and Laois on any given day, to be honest with you.
Is Cusack Park a help to us? Would you prefer to play it in Cusack Park than have to go to maybe a bigger field in Portlaoise?
You'd imagine Cusack Park has to be a help. Sure, all our lads have played there. You'd imagine it has to be. I don't know what the lads think. We've actually a reasonable record in recent years down in Portlaoise, having never been able to win a game there. We know we've a reasonable record, but I think it has to be personally. I don't know what the lads think.
I think we've been guilty by times of, when you win as a manager of any squad, you want to build your own home as a kind of a fortress, and you want to get this winning mentality at home. And we've all been guilty of not, as Jerry started with, not giving enough support. I won't say often, but sometimes we've been in Cusack Park and the opposition team comes out and a huge round of applause and a cheer, and the Westmeath team comes out, and it's nearly as if we're embarrassed to clap for
recognise our own.
To recognise our own. And we spoke about it during the year in the podcast about aspects of play from Castellan lads, from the Gaels lads, that stuff that was if we seen it in Cork and Kenny or anywhere else, we'd be raving about, we'd be sharing it on Twitter, we'd be doing everything. And it's now that we need to start doing that for our own.
And it's against these teams, the Laois, the Carlows, the Antrims, the Dublins and so forth. They're the teams we need to get numbers out for. We played Kilkenny in Cusack Park. I was selected a couple of years ago. The place was wedged. Yeah. It was wedged, and there was loads there from Westmeath. But when we played Antrim in Cusack Park last year, when Joe Fortune was in charge of the team, and we got well beaten, there was very few people there. Yeah. They're the teams that we need people to come out and support us in, to make sure that we be that extra man that the lads need with 5-10 minutes to go, to get this, to rally the troops, to rally the players with 5 minutes to go when they're in the game, and making sure, not against Limerick, when you're going out against Limerick, and sure, let's be realistic here. You're going out and hoping that you're not going to be absolutely hammered, keeping it respectable. That's for sure. But we need the supporters to come out for the likes of this Laois match next weekend and get a good crowd there. Now, in fairness, and the genuine Westmeath fan, there's loads of them out there, are really, really good, and they fall in behind the team, and but it's the supporters that only go every now and again. They're the ones that we need to get out and into Cusack Park.
To answer your question, the only venue I never liked going to was Carlow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are going there for the last match.
I don't know. There was always just I don't know what you are.
Yeah,
Carlow was a venue I just never liked travelling to. Didn't like it as part of a Westmeath management team or setup. It was just one venue that never really seemed to. We never seemed to do well down there.
I know it's a long time ago now, relatively speaking, Ray, but the team you were involved in the 80s, the buzz around that team and the big crowds at matches was fantastic. You'd love to see even an element of that coming back in. There was great pride in supporting Westmeath then, wasn't there?
There was,
no dribble of applause then. Now you were
and Jerry, we were beating the likes of these teams.
Absolutely,
you know, to get promoted out of Division 1, being into the top, like you can call it whatever, like it's Division 2 into Division 1, whatever. But that was the way it was. Like, and we were competitive then. And look, lads, I have no doubt we've had people on here that can be negative about Westmeath hurling, but like, it goes in cycles. You know, we'll come with a good team, they all go over the hill, and you know, we seem to come back with another good team. Might take a few more years to do it, but I've no doubt there's the makings of a very good team in that group that's there. With the underage, like our under-20s did well last year. Okay, they came up against a very strong Dublin team, you know, that went to a Leinster final and ran awfully very, very close in a Leinster final. You know, and David Williams and that, Conor Gaffney was on that, Peter Clark was on it. You know, there's plenty like that coming through as well, and I wouldn't be negative about Westmeath hurling at all.
But if you look at that Dublin team last year that nearly won that Leinster under-20, they didn't puck a wide against Westmeath.
That's right. That's right.
Not one wide they pucked. Now they will never do that again. I have never in my life seen a team. They may have pucked one at the very end, but they might have pucked one at the very end. But they never pucked a wide for the whole match. Because we were watching the game over in the terrace, and we couldn't understand this. Like,
even their wing back and
it's a dream. It's a dream for a manager, and we've all done it. To be sitting there going, everything we're hitting here has gone over the bar. You won't be beat. Doesn't matter who you are. Everything that you hit goes over the bar or into the net, you won't be beaten. And that was, unfortunately, Westmeath came up against that last year with a good under-20 side.
Yeah.
I don't think Carlow or Laois are much different than us at the moment in relation to building new squads. I think they're probably very similar, so we should be on a par. Awfully, you would expect from what they've been bringing through with under-20s and minors for the last few years. That's the game that I would look at on the calendar and see, right, where really are we here? And it's at that stage, like it's well down in the dates, and we've got to have I think 3 weeks off for it.
Yeah, it's on
in preparation for that game.
Yeah, it's fixed Adrian for Sunday the 2nd of March, having played our third game on the 9th of February.
Yeah. So you'll have played 3 games.
Yeah.
And you'll have seen a lot of guys hurling at that stage. You'll know whether your own keys is working at wing back or not after playing 3 competitive league matches. So 3 weeks off, it gives you great preparation going into the Offaly game, and that would be a great, I suppose, measure gauge to where we are.
Yeah.
I think the key thing is, though, having played those 3 games, at the end of the day, while we're all trying to be optimistic here, it's results-driven business. If we had a few points on the board going into that Offaly game, the mindset would be, you know, sure, listen, we were able to beat Offaly a few years ago, rather than, oh God, they won the under-21 or the under-20 last year, you know. So a couple of points on the board going into that.
Yeah, and Alan's team, Castlegagan, playing their county champions last year, and you know, I mean, a puck of a ball is all that was in it. So, like, you know, and they had a fair sprinkling of what's going to be on that Offaly senior team coming up playing for them that day.
And when you speak about that team, I think Castlin would have given a far better performance in Croke Park, would have been more suited to being competitive on the day in Croke Park than unfortunately worked out for the Cormac line.
But then you look at that under-20, we're talking about Offaly winning the under-20. It's an unbelievable step up from under-20 to senior. If you look at the last 2 teams that won All-Irelands at under-20 level, that are just, they're not the big teams like the Dublins or the Kerrys or whatever, or the Galways or the Kilkennys in hurling. Roscommon footballers won the under-20 All-Ireland a few years ago. Okay? Very few of that team have stepped up into the senior ranks. And then you look at the Offaly footballers as well. I'm going to football here. They won the All-Ireland under-20. Very few of them have stepped up. So we've nothing to be afraid of here. We have 3 or 4, maybe 5 of the best under-20s in Leinster playing with us. So why can't they be the backbone of our team in 2-3 years' time and shuffle them in along with 3 or 4 other lads, and we will. But as Adrian said, we're going to have to blood these lads, and next Sunday or next Saturday is the time to start blooding these lads.
Start of it, yeah. And again, those young lads down are playing Fitzgibbon Cup as well, which is always a great barometer of where you stand. That if you've young lads, making the university team, like let's be honest, that's at intercounty standard when you look at either Fitzgibbon or Sigerson.
And I suppose we're a little bit different now than what we were even 6 or 7 years ago. While we, and I already said it, we're never blessed with men that are giants. You have the jogger and you have Mitchell and a few lads, but the smaller lads now are an awful lot better conditioned. They're gymmed, because it's now a way of life for all these guys. Once they hit 16, 17, they're hitting gyms, they're in college, and that's part of life now for all of these guys. So we can be competitive, no doubt about it. It's about getting the opportunity for lads to get in the pitch and see what's our best 15, what's your best 20. And for coming into a Joe McDonagh, and that's what this league is all about for me. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, lads, we'll park the hurling for now. Next Saturday in TG Cusick Park, 2 p.m. throw in against Laois. Start the whole year going, and hopefully we started on a high. We'll move forward then to the football setup, and they start their campaign on Sunday, also with a home game here in TG Cusick Park against Louth. Now in that group this year, Westmeath have Roscommon, Cork, Down, Monaghan, Meath, Cavan and Louth. So again, a nice level of football, but it's going to be tough to pick up points in that as well, Jerry. There's nothing easy. I think we end up, in the football we've four home, 3 away.
Yeah, absolutely, but and you're spot on, and Division 2 isn't far behind Division 1 in standard. The only thing I would say is the last 2 years, everyone said that it would always be a Division 1 team that won the Sam Maguire, but the last 2 years it's been 2 Division 2 teams, Dublin and Armagh, the way it's worked out. But there are no, with the greatest respect to the 7 teams you've mentioned, there are no real huge heavy hitters in that. There's no Armagh or Donegal or Dublin in that division, and while they're all formidable teams, I think that's one of the most reasonable Division 2s there's been in quite some time. And the 2 teams who came down, Monaghan and Roscommon, tend to kind of yo-yo between 1 and 2 to an extent. So it's while it's tough, there have been far tougher Division 2s in recent years, I feel.
Yeah, we came up with Down, the 2 teams that came in out of Division 3 into Division 2, and it's a very balanced group. I think, looking at it, yes, you could come out of there with 7 defeats, but you could also come out with 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, absolutely, and no more than what we were talking about, the hurling is, we're in a transition here now. Like, we have no John Heslin, Kevin Maguire, James Dolan, to name but a few. Okay, they are 3 stalwarts of this county, right? And they're irreplaceable. But no more than what we're talking about the hurling is, we're going to have the blood, lads. We're going to have the blood, the likes of Fionn O'Hara, who's back, who's in on the panel now. He's a good young lad who went to Australia. He's back, was concentrating on rugby for a while. We're going to Danny McCartan, Matthew Whittaker. All these types of lads are going to get their chance now, and that's what we've been waiting to do, is get these lads in on the squad. What's going to be vital is our home games. We're playing Louth, Cavan, Meath and Roscommon, but in particular the first 3, Louth, Cavan and Meath, we need to be aiming to get 2 wins out of those 3 games. And that's what we're to go away to Monaghan is going to be a very, very tough ask for a new bunch of young lads to do. But if we could get something out of the game against Louth at home, and we've a great record against Cork. Now, I don't know how good it has been, but when I was playing with Westmeath, we always brought up to Cork, and we even down there we used to rattle them down there, and I think we won maybe 1 game and drew 2 down there in the 3 or 4 years we were there. And they're the games that we really, really need to get something out of. If we can get something out of the Cork game away, but in particular Cavan and Meath in the 4th and 5th game, they're the games that we need to be targeting, to be at full whack, to get something out of those games and make sure that we stay in this division and we're playing in Sam Maguire.
Yeah, that's the big carrot, Jerry. And we need to talk about a new management that's in place there as well. And unfortunately, to date, we haven't managed to sit down and we haven't managed to nail down Dermot McCabe and or Mark McHugh or both of them ideally to have a chat with them to see what their plans are. But rest assured, lads, we'll put that on record here now. We'll be nabbing you in the next week or so. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a bit of your time and to do that. But it's a new management in, and I suppose a new broom sweeps clean. Yes, I'm sure he would have liked to have Kevin Maguire, James Dolan. John Heston was probably the last of the announcement. I think the big thing from what I'm hearing on the street is that Ron O'Toole is going travelling. He's not part of the squad this year yet either. So again, 4 starting players from last year's team, Jerry, gone for the start of this league.
Yeah, well, I think Ron O'Toole's might be a temporary thing, that he will be back at some stage. But we're after mentioning Kevin Maguire, James Dolan, and John Heston. As Alan said, they were fantastic players. But it was no great shock. This is not as if they suddenly announced at 28 that they're retiring. They announced at the ages that you would expect them to retire. So, we've all paid them tribute, and genuine tributes. And you say when Dermot McCabe took on the job and he was doing his interviews, he knew he was going to be without them. So I haven't spoken to him either, which is highly unusual as well, because you normally have even kind of got to know a fella fairly well at this stage. But I did see the interviews he did in the papers last week, and I liked the tone of his comments. He wasn't promising big things, or he wasn't negative either. I thought he gave a nice, balanced, realistic attitude to pragmatic type of attitude to where he's at and what his hopes were for the year. So from that point of view, I was impressed, and I've also been kind of hearing vibes that the training has gone well. So we are where we are, and again, we mentioned the importance of the first match. We've Louth next Sunday. I suppose Louth have probably replaced us in recent years with the dubious distinction of being the second best team in Leinster behind Dublin. But as I always say to that'll be like, I don't know if Lionel Messi has a brother. It'd be like saying Joe Messi is the second best footballer in the Messi family. I mean, being second best team to Dublin, really, we were so far behind, and Louth were so far behind, even though they gave a good account of themselves in last year's Leinster final. They probably have replaced us in that regard. Jumping ahead a little bit, I suppose the Dublin retirements, which were surprising, certainly in the case of Fenton, has a lot of people popping up and saying, God, maybe Leinster isn't going to be quite as one-sided as it has been for since Alan's time. 20 years ago, they've only managed to win 19 of the 20 titles since that. So there's a little bit of hope in that regard. But going back to what my initial point, we've Louth at home next week, and right, they probably are the second best team in Leinster at the moment. But are Louth significantly better than Westmeath? I would suggest not a lot. And I think McCabe made a point very, very well about that. He said, in a sense, the new rules, it's almost like a new sport, a new game. And we might suddenly discover, the lads you were mentioning, that we're good at this new sport. So it's a whole new ball game. But again, first match against Louth, I have said when I saw the fixtures announced months back, and I'm going to stick to it, I said I think if we beat Louth in the first match, we'll at least stay up. And I'm sticking to that. And I think all going well, it's still a winnable game. Louth don't scare me. I respect Louth, but they don't scare me.
Yeah, and RD got the better of St. Lawrence, but again, the narrowest of margins went to a Leinster final, and that would tell me that your club scene is no much stronger than what we have here. No,
and probably Lomans probably should have won that game. I'll be honest. On the day, I thought Lomans were the better team. They were just unfortunate that they had one ball in. I think we had a chance. So we, as in the Westmeath club, we chanced to go 2 up, and we dropped the ball short into the goalie's hands, and they went straight down the field, and they scored a point, and they got the winning point off the next kick out. There's very little in between it. But I have to say, and there's no disrespect to Saoirse Bulfin, I don't know Saoirse Bulfin, but I think this appointment of Dermot McCabe is a brilliant appointment for Westmeath. In terms of going forward, in terms of him progressing over the next 3 to 4 years, we need to stick tight with these managers now for a couple of years, and don't be a county that's just going to get rid of a management team just because we had a poor year or two or whatever. I think this is a great appointment. Mark McHugh coming in as a coach, Scullion coming in as a coach as well, Niall O'Brien is in from a Westmeath, and Damien Healy as well. I think it's a really, really good management team. I think that it's a brilliant appointment, but it's only a brilliant appointment if we have a bit of patience with these lads, because they are after being hit with 3 or 4 big departures. Possibly we'll run O'Toole possibly going as well. That's going to be 4, and then possibly Jack Smith I hear could be on the brink of stepping aside as well. Now the good thing is we've Stephen Smith, so that might just pull him back a bit to get him back into the squad. But I think it's a great appointment for Westmeath, and as Jerry said, I think if we win next weekend against Louth, I've no doubt we'll stay up. If we don't win against Louth, that game 3, 4 and 5 are going to be vitally important against Cork, Cavan and Meath to make sure that we should be looking for 5 points out of them 3 matches.
Yeah, Monaghan, the second game, again, announcement in the last day or two from Conor McManus. So that'll take a little bit of firepower away from Monaghan. But then I think the first game of the league last year, Monaghan beat Dublin above in Croke Park. So, they're going to be no pushovers. And then
and I think that was without Conor McManus.
As well. Yeah,
I think he was injured and out, so maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that was without Conor McManus.
Yeah.
So you're still dealing with a serious outfit if they're able to beat Dublin in Croke Park.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I would say, to be honest with you, when I saw these fixtures, I would say that's probably the toughest fixture we have, which makes it all the more important to pick something up against Louth, because going up to Clonus against Monaghan, who have yo-yoed a bit between 1 and 2, but they've kind of really punched above their weight over the years, Monaghan, and they're very, very, very difficult to beat up there. So I think it's a particularly tough one. And again, Alan mentioned about Cork. The last time I saw us play in Cork, there was only a handful of at it. It was COVID times in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and we scored 25 points and managed to lose, which was a phenomenal achievement. I think 5 forwards scored at least 3 points each from play, and we managed to lose. But as Alan has said, we have a good record against them. But in terms of the difficulty of fixtures, I would say that Monaghan away is particularly difficult, and that's why, if we leave Cusack Park next Sunday pointless, I think it's going to make for a difficult campaign. While again reiterating what Alan said, we have to have patience with the management and with new players. But conversely, if we can win next Sunday, I think we could have a decent year.
Yeah, with the
that's
football.
how important I think that match is.
Yeah, and Monaghan followed by, you have Cork down in Cork as well, which again, every time you pick up a paper there seems to be someone else has left the Cork football panel. Now I know they have loads of clubs down there, so they'll be able to replace them, I'm sure, at minimum of like with like. Dermot McCabe, I seen his interview on the local paper as well, Jerry. He'll be very interested in looking at the one in the 4th round game, where I'm sure he'll come in for a little bit of stick from his own supporters, where Cavan are travelling here to Mullingar. Then we have Meath here in Mullingar as well. Down away, which could be a crucial game. The two of us came up out of Division 3, and then we finish up with a home game against Roscommon. So, there are winnable games there, and you would hope, no more than with the hurlers, Adrian. Momentum is a great thing, and if you can get 2 points early doors, you can get up and run and get a bit of wind in your sails as such.
I was wondering when you were going to ask any football questions.
Yeah.
But thanks for bringing me in. Look, it's the same thing. Look, we can reiterate it. Retirements, and it's the same at home at the club. While we don't like to see these guys going, we have to realise that the ages that they're at and what they've given. So one door closes, another one opens, and it's a transition, and that's what it's as we said about the hurling. It's patience. This is a patience game for Westmeath, and it's mirrored in the football, mirrored in the hurling. That's where we're at, and as I keep saying, I'm sure there's other teams here. You have to mention Conor McManus from Monaghan. He's one of the footballers that I would know.
Okay.
So every club, every county team goes through this, and we have to be as patient as everybody else.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a bit strange in the county that we're in transition with both codes, and at the same time we've brought in new managers. Maybe the previous management knew when it was time to get out or whatever, but
the other side of it is we've been in transition before. Now, in football, I wouldn't be that well versed on it, but I'm sure we were probably in the bottom of Division 3 when we were in transition, and we were in lower Division 2 a few years ago, which was a different division as is now, and we were in transition, and things looked a lot bleaker. So at least we're still in Division 1, and we're in the hurling, Division 1B, so we're still close to the top level and in transition, which to me is a good sign.
Yeah, and going back to my initial point, and it's not been remotely disrespectful to any of our 7 opponents, there's no huge heavy hitter in that. There's no team that you could say for definite, we've no chance against them. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah.
No team.
Yeah, no, it is a fair comment, but the big thing is, can we go up to Monaghan and win up in Monaghan? I can't see it at the minute with the transition that we're in, but I also can't see us going up there and getting a beating. And that's one thing when you're a young lad coming into the squad, as we all were at some stage, the three of us playing Westmeath. The last thing you want to do is in your first couple of games is get a few beatings. And it's one of those going, Jesus Christ, am I good enough for this? Am I not good? If you can stay competitive, regardless if you come out of Monaghan with a 3 or 4 point loss, or come out of Dublin or Antrim with a 3 or 4 point loss in the hurling, you're still coming away going, I'm able for this, and I'm only going to get better. Do you know what I mean? Like 90% of both squads are only going to get better. You have the 10% that are in their late 20s, early 30s, that are probably at their prime, and they're going to keep it at that, and please God, they'll keep it going for a few years. But at the same time, it's the younger lads that need to get their head in the game, where they go to these games and they say, geez, I'm not out of place here. I'm well capable of punching with these lads. And that's what it's all about. It's making sure that we stay competitive in all these games. And I guarantee you, right, I'm not saying, Jerry's probably saying that we need to get something out of the first game, even if we didn't get out of the first 2 games, but if we were very, very competitive, there's no doubt that you can get a win in the next few games. In 2004 we played Cork down in Cork in the first round of the league, and we got beaten by a last minute goal. We played Longford a week later, and we got beaten by a last minute goal in Division 1, but we stayed up in Division 1. Do you know what I mean? We knew we weren't out of place here. There was a lot of young lads. I was coming into the team myself, Dennis Glennon, all these lads were all coming in. We stayed competitive. We knew we were competitive and we weren't out of place. And we got our 2 wins and a draw later on in the campaign, and we stayed up. There's nothing to say that both these teams can't do that.
I think Jerry made a very valid point about maybe this new system might suit Westmeath. You know, and we're talking about retirees. Maybe the new system, like from what I'm reading into it, you have a full forward line that's going to be inside with maybe 45, 50 yards of space in front of them, like it's created in the hurling. So maybe some of the guys that are over the 32, 33, 34 mark, that mightn't have suited these guys, but it could suit some of the guys that's now on the panel that can offer a bit of pace and a bit of, you know, more mobility to a forward line. So I suppose you're going to be looking at from football from a point of view. Personally myself, football was hard enough from us as a spectator's point of view for the last couple of years, coming from a non-football background. But you'd look forward to the new rules and hopefully that there'll be more competitiveness in, rather than lads carrying the ball through the hand the whole way up the pitch. So listen, this new system could suit Westmeath, and we could be coming back here in a couple of weeks' time. I still won't talk an awful lot about football, but
I will ask you more about it, Adrian, the next time.
But in fairness, what Adrian's saying,
Yeah.
he's 100% right. If you look at the play Clare in a challenge match last weekend, Luke Loughlin scored 1-6. He scored a point from free. He scored 1-5 from play. He was one of the 3 lads that were inside most of the time.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he was in there the whole time, but he's one of the 3 lads in most of the time. Now, he would be an absolute nightmare to mark if you were one-on-one with him inside your 45.
All the time.
And no one else back to help you out. So the transition of the ball in football is going to be vital, that if you can turn a ball over, you need to be getting it to the full forward line within 4 to 5 seconds to stop the other 12 players or 11 players from getting back in time. And if you do that, he'll make hay. Why has Luke Loughlin not scored 1-6 or 1-7 in every match the last 3 or 4 years? Because there's fucking 15 lads inside. Sorry for cursing. There's 15 lads inside the 45. It's impossible. It's the worst place to play for the last 3 or 4 years on a county team. Is corner forward.
Luke was actually taken off, I think, in Croke Park in one of the last games that I've seen anyhow, and I could understand his level of frustration because the mauling he was getting and no opportunities as such to break through on goal or to break through to get that score. Whereas, as I said, I'm not a football man tactically, but I think that Westmeath could be, you know, this could suit the likes of a Westmeath better than we know. And until you go down the first 3 or 4 games, we're not going to know that.
Yeah, someone I've seen it written recently, Jerry. It's almost like a new game.
Well, that's what Derek McCabe said. It's a new game, new sport almost. You know, there are so many changes, and you know, it's going to be fascinating for us all. We're all going to. It's going to take all sorts of observers time to get used to what exactly is allowed and not allowed. I think Jim Gavin is coming down to address the referees this Tuesday night. He was to come last Tuesday because I'm sure the referees have lots of questions on it. But absolutely, yeah, and the point about Luke Loughlin is absolutely spot on. It would suit players like that. And, we've a lot of young players coming onto the panel, and it just might be... I don't share, most people I've spoken to be honest with you, and there might be some of them listening to this say, we're going to lose all 7 matches. I don't share their pessimism. I don't. And that's not being gung-ho, that's my honest opinion. I don't think we're in as bad a shape as some people seem to think, despite the high-profile lads leaving. That's my honest opinion. I don't think it's a scary division, and I'd be very hopeful we're competitive in it. There's the added bonus, of course, we're all sitting here underneath the Tailteann Cup winning photograph, and on that, incidentally, the thousands who flocked the centre of Mullingar for the homecoming. Cusick Park is just down on the left if you want to go there next Sunday. People who don't seem to know where Cusick Park is, they know where to go in the centre of the town when Allen's teams and other teams are coming back to celebrate. A bit of support would be nice on Sunday, but I don't share the pessimism of a lot of people. I think we're in reasonable shape, and but I still have to say, I think it's very important to at least get a draw out of the Louth match, to just get that little bit of a lift going.
Yeah, but look, it's going to take time, Alan. We probably haven't really hit on the whole thing of the new rules and stuff like that. But it's going to take a few games, I think, for teams to adjust to it on a competitive basis. They will have been playing challenge games under those rules and whatever, and I'm sure there will be a little bit of tweaking done on them at the end of the league. But what do you make of them?
I think they're good. I think they're really, really good. I don't think it's going to take that much tweaking, to be honest. Okay. I think you're talking about the first competitions that we're going to see, and you're talking about the elite players in the country. In every county, there are elite players going to be playing county level. They will pick things up very quickly. I think it's going to take an awful lot more work for club players to pick it up and club referees to pick it up. It's extremely hard on club referees. Totally. It's going to be fierce hard on county referees. But you're talking about I think I read somewhere that Longford have 28 referees and 10 of them are over 70. You can imagine them 10 men trying to referee matches with these new rules. It's going to be next to impossible for them, unless they have help with 2 really good linesmen that are going to give them a dig out. And we all know that we're not blessed with really good linesmen either. So
maybe not blessed with linesmen. And in league matches, I know exactly where you're coming from. But I know in hurling in particular, and
that's what
football is the same.
I'm not talking about referees now that are linesmen. I'm talking about linesmen at club level. Where, for a league match, sure, the ball could be kicked out. I could kick the ball over the line, and my man could be doing line ball, and he'll give the line ball to me. That type of thing. How are they going to help referees in league matches? Sorry, I wasn't giving out about referees now in club matches doing linesmen. Sorry.
Referees are scarce, so to get 2 more referees that's going to come as linesmen is, for me, I would see a problem.
Yeah, but some linesmen can be very vigilant now as well, in fairness to them, and we've seen that down the last couple of years as well in this county. But what I would be more, I would fear for those referees here locally, because I think in one of the games, I think David Goff actually admitted that he got something wrong, because he got confused between the 2 sets of rules. He's a top referee. So what hope does that give to?
But the problem with him now is he's probably refereeing top level schools matches at the minute, and he's probably refereeing All-Ireland club semi-finals and been involved in the club semi-finals where Errigal Kieran played last weekend, played
Dr. Crokes.
Dr. Crokes. He was involved in that as well. So then he's gone out then maybe the following day to do a challenge match for an Intercounty, and then he's totally new rules again, and he's probably, you can understand, it's going to take time for them to adjust to it too.
Yeah, and I seen a problem this year, and Jerry, Ray, both of you were at the match. I was doing a small bit of coaching with St Mary CBS. We're playing Kenny CBS, and total cynical foul in the last few minutes. One of St Mary does a pull down inside the 21. That's Intercounty, it's a penalty, but it's just a standard 21-yard free at club, so or even school. So it has to be across the board ASAP. It has to be the same rules whether you're playing under 14 or you're playing in Croke Park or Westmeath.
Yeah, interesting. Colin O'Rourke had a piece today in the Sunday Independent. He was clearly unhappy about the way he was treated in Meath, but he also went on to talk about the new rules. And I always enjoy reading his stuff, I'll be honest with you. And his last piece was, "May God bless the referees."
Yeah, it's going to be tough on them.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And you know, some of the rules, even, you know, if abuse comes to the referee from the sideline, you know, the ball can be carried forward 50 metres. Well, I'm looking forward to the day when there's somebody standing behind you in a football game on the terrace, and they shout out at the referee, and he thinks it was you that said it.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to have anarchy then, and the ball goes forward 50 yards and becomes a scoreable free from, or it actually goes to the 14-yard line.
But I actually read something yesterday that I don't know what county it was. It was Donegal played someone, and the referee gave a free against. I'm only saying, let's say it was Roscommon. I'm not 100% sure it was, and someone said, and excuse the language, but a lad from Roscommon put on a Northern Ireland accent and says, "Fuck that ref," and the ref brought the free forward 50 metres, and it wasn't one of the Donegal lads that did it.
Yeah.
Now this is what they were arguing after, and they wrote it in the paper. It was in some article that I read. They wrote it in the paper, and they just said,
It was Antrim, I think, and Andy McEntee was.
"Oh, was that who it
That's
was?" Yeah. So, and he was giving out that to put on an Antrim accent, and next thing was the free was brought forward 50 metres, and it wasn't one of them that said that. So
I read that too. Yeah.
unless he sees it,
Yeah.
unless the referee is looking at you and you give out to him, well then bring it forward. But he can't be someone roaring from behind him and bring it forward. Sure, it's ridiculous.
And there's also a little thing on that, going off on a tangent here, a little gripe of mine. The referees are going to have to be made to distinguish the difference between some fella saying ref, which you'd expect any competitive fella to play in any match, and you such and such, beep 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 ref. There has to be discretion for the referees. So as Colin O'Rourke said, may God bless the referees.
Yeah, it'll
There'll
be
be
fun.
lots of lads practicing the Castellan exit now.
So it's not in hurling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The rumour is it's coming in though.
That's
They're
what
going to
you
bring
know,
it in for. They're coming in for abuse to referees in hurling. It's going to be brought forward 50 metres.
And we're all for respect for referees, let's be honest about it. And again, you're talking about young players. It was a great campaign last year. It's a great credit to Barry Kelly and Peter Collins getting young referees on board. And you want these young referees to be refereeing for the rest of their careers and not to be experienced as abuse. So anything that comes in, we're having a bit of a joke with this, but anything that comes in to help referees, I'm all for that. You know, they're great men.
Huge pressure on managers, Jerry.
Yeah.
Huge pressure on managers. Like, and I know we're talking about giving our management teams now time and patience to get to build squads and everything. But when you're on that sideline, Alan, you know, it's
What's a results-driven business?
It's a results-driven business, and the buck stops with you. You might have 3 or 4 or 15 of a management team behind you.
Yeah.
But the pressure is on you, and you will speak. You will say the stupid thing, and you know, heat of the moment. But most guys are man enough just to say, look at it, I'm sorry, apologise for it, end the story, move on, and that's with due discretion, like, you know.
Yeah, but again, I don't know whether discretion is a word that's used when it comes to refereeing, because they seem to be judged and assessed and whatever by how they technically referee games. That seems in which I think any of us that played the game at all might not always agree with that.
Yeah, no, and I've seen assessors, like, and with no disrespect, there might have been great referees themselves in the 80s, but I've seen 2 or 3 assessors that have been definitely nearly have to be driven to games that are 80s, and it's a different day, it's a different game now, and I think that's something probably that has to be looked at as well, that the people that are assessing these must have a more up-to-date knowledge of actually the way the game needs to be played and the way the game needs to be refereed.
Yeah, I think that it fascinated me. I think it came up in Dermot McCabe's interview as well. Was I think it was Luke Loughlin again. At one stage, he was penalised, and he did the gentlemanly thing of leaving the ball down the ground. But apparently, that's not good enough. You have to hand it back to your opponent. I would have thought it was a perfectly reasonable thing to leave the ball on the ground, but apparently, that's not good enough.
No, it's gone like Australian rules football. You have to throw the ball back.
And
I think that's rimming
and
it.
my
personally.
small bit of knowledge, Jerry,
That's rimming it.
is that if I'm playing for, which I was playing for Westmeath with Alan, and Alan is fouled, Alan gives away the foul, and he throws it to me to give to you as the opposition, that's still not good enough.
Good God.
The player that commits the foul has to hand the
That's
ball
one
over.
by.
That's one rule we do know.
Wow.
Interesting
God
times,
bless
lads.
the referees.
God bless the referees.
Yeah.
But whatever bit of help and support is there for, say, inter-county games, especially Division 1, Division 2, they'll be on good pitches, the new markings will be visible on it, but I really fear for a junior championship game, next September, and the knockout stage of a junior championship in a game that's not played on a county ground, and the grass is a bit long, and you couldn't get out on it to put the arc on it for the new kick outs.
Well, I would fear more that before we even get to the championship, you could lose referees with the new rules at club level. Like, you go out to a division, we're in Division 3 now this year, and say God only knows who we're going to play in it, but we go out in Division 3 and a referee comes out, a Division 3 level referee, who mostly are young lads that are, they're either young lads that are on their way up, or they're older lads that are on their way down. That's basically what it is. You don't get the top level referees at Division 3, and rightly so, they have to learn their trade. But at the same time, you have management teams that want to win these league matches, you have players that want to win these league matches, and it's going to get heated at times, and extra rules, it was hard enough for them with the normal rules without extra rules coming in.
Is it an underage now as well?
It's what I found hard to believe was, I spoke to a lad yesterday who told me that it's in at under 14 level. Now I'm going to tell you now, there's very few goalkeepers that'll kick the ball from 21 that'll get on a windy day that'll get outside the arc at 14 years of age. Very few. And the problem being is that at under 14 level, you can kick the ball from inside the 6-yard box out of your hands, or you can go to the 21 and kick it off the ground. There's no chance that they'll reach the outside the arc inside the 6-yard box out of their hands. And that is a fact. No chance. No under 14 child is going to reach that. So how it's coming in, I would say at minor level, bring it in for minor and then onwards. But you can't be bringing this in at under 14, under 16. It is going to cause havoc.
It's also one of the things, and I haven't seen or heard much from the Westmeath games, but it's now going to throw an awful pressure on a goalkeeper. And I see on some of the reports where Westmeath were playing Conor McCormack, who was a forward, has been on the Westmeath panel as a forward, who has played as a forward with Colliery.
He started centre forward against Wicklow last year.
And he's now they're trying him in the goals. Right. I presume that is to both keep possession and then obviously try and get him as the 12th man up at the other end.
Oh, sure, that's the only reason you could, let's be honest about it. If you look at Jason Daly's performance for Lomans this year, apart from Luke Loughlin, I thought Jason Daly was the best player on the field in the county final. I think they won nearly all their kick-outs. He made 2 or 3 fantastic saves, and he was brilliant in the penalty shootout.
Sure, yeah.
So, and in fairness, Luke Loughlin deserved his man in the match award. He was outstanding throughout the whole match. But Lomans' best player in that game was Jason Daly. So, if you were looking at that with normal rules, well, not the new rules coming in, you'd say there's no doubt Jason Daly be in the goals. But with the way some managers might want to play, they want him to be that extra man up the far end of the field. So he's going to have to seriously fit.
This is what, again, O'Rourke, incidentally, has a paragraph on that today, a brief paragraph. The keeper is going to become the most important player in the new game, and a lot of teams may come around to playing an outfield player with an accurate kick-out in goals. Shot stopping is far less important than being able to move upfield and score. He will also need to be an athlete. All the points Alan has just made.
Interesting time.
Now, in fairness, he kicks 45s for Colliery, so I can understand his kick-out will probably be quite good. But I think most teams are going to try and take advantage of a goalkeeper that's an out-the-field player that's in the if you take a shot and the ball is on the ground at all, I know from playing in there, no outfield player is going to save it. It has to be a goalkeeper that's in there is going to save it. But I can understand why Dermot McCabe's playing it. Donegal are playing Michael Murphy in the goals at the minute. It's great for Michael Murphy to make up these rules and then step away.
He's gone off the committee, I think, today. There's 2 new lads on the committee.
And that's nothing against Michael Murphy, because he is a phenomenal. He was a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah. Alan and Jerry and Adrian, before we finish up, And another little thing we're going to introduce for these podcasts for the year going forward, we're going to make up a couple of questions or get fan questions, to come in if anyone wants to ask it. But Alan, I'm going to start with you on this one anyway. We've been touching on it there now, but do you actually think that the new rules will suit Westmeath?
I think they will. I think they will, because we're going to be going with youth. And I think that's the all new rules. The big thing with the new rules, as far as I can see, is that lads playing from 5 to 12 will have to be unbelievably fit. Unbelievably fit. Now, a lad in his 30s is not going to get to that level of playing that unless you're a freak like Paul Conroy, who's 34, 35 years of age and getting player of the year last year, who's up and down the field and kicking points outside of the arc. He's an exception. But I think with the new young players coming in, we all know that when we all went into county setups when we were young lads, all you want to do was get as fit as you possibly could to get on the team. That was the big thing. And it was easy to get fit back in your early 20s. It's not quite as easy in your late 20s, early 30s. It's also going to suit, in particular, the likes of Luke Loughlin, playing at 13, 14 or 15, where he has an acre of space in front of him. We saw him in hurling this year, how dangerous he can actually be. It's going to suit him down to the ground in particular. And then you look at Matthew Whittaker, Danny McCartan, these lads that can all play inside, that are really, really good as well. They'll all benefit from it. But you're going to have to be quick, extremely quick, and good at winning your own ball. It is going to work that way. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works out for the likes of Ronan Wallace and Sam McCartan, two lads that are seriously fit and quick, bombing forward with the ball, where they have that extra bit of space, that there's not 3 extra players in front of them trying to break them down. Like, you look at Ronan Wallace, he broke lines left, right and centre, and Sam McCartan all year last year, and for the last 4 or 5 years, not just last year. But imagine if you have more space and you have athletes like them coming through. So to answer your question, I actually think it will suit this new Westmeath team, and it's good that it's coming in when you're trying to breed in a few new players. It'd be a nightmare if it's coming in and we had 15 lads that are in their early 30s and they're trying to adapt to all new rules. But it'll be good with the new lads coming in, and you're blooding them straight away to play to the new rules, and most of them haven't played before.
Jerry, a different question for you on this one. The most hard-working or unassuming player, footballer now, that you've seen in your time watching Westmeath? Now, I know that's going to cover a lot then, but is there anyone you can think of offhand? Just, maybe was always there, was always Mr. Reliable, always given a 7 out of 10 performance, but maybe never got the recognition nationally or anything like that it would deserve?
Yeah, sure. I'm going back 60 years now with my memory, but I'll give you a quick answer in that I think somebody who's just retired. I'll answer you in a roundabout way. My lady friend for the past 10 years is a Dub, and all her family were on when John Heslin retired. And so, what do you do with Heslin? It was a great bit of stuff. And they would have heard of James Dolan as well. But I said to a few of them, I said, did you ever hear the name Kevin Maguire? And he said, no. Well, so I think he'd have been the Dublin full back for the last 10 years if he was a Dub, I said. So I know he got a certain recognition, but outside of Westmeath, maybe not as much. And I think Kevin Maguire is going to be an enormous loss to Westmeath as a leader and as a defender, and probably didn't get the credit outside of Westmeath that he deserved. He was an absolutely outstanding player, and when you meet him off the pitch, certainly merits the term unassuming. So just as a quick answer, probably you were talking about 7 out of 10. He was certainly more than a 7 out of 10, but I just wanted to pay tribute to him in terms of, I think, somebody that would have been the full-back on any county team in Ireland. That's my opinion. Very
good. Adrian, one for you, and we're going back to the small ball game this time now. See, it's your game, as you already...
I would have said voted for football.
Your best Castletown Gaelic accent that you're practicing now.
Most skillful hurler you've seen, or maybe trained or whatever, from be it from Westmeath, I suppose, and who would have gone on and would have made it, got a place on any one of the top county teams.
Similar to the question before in our last podcast, I was asked a few times about, and not questioned, but other names thrown at me when I mentioned David Kilcoyne, and it's I know it probably sounds very, very biased. I had the privilege of hurling with him for a few years at club level, but I've seen him since 1985. I was 10, and I watched him from then until the day that he retired, and he came back and he won the championship for us. And I thought a lot about it when lads had asked about and named different guys, and I'm not going to name them here today, other hurlers over the last, we'll say, 15, 20 years, but my answer would still be David Kilcoyne, because he had everything. He had, you know, he had the work rate from start to finish, but he had left and right. And while over the last number of years we have had some fantastic hurlers and still have some fantastic hurlers, some of them are just not as strong on the weaker side as probably we'd like them to be, but David was, and to answer the second part of your question, he would have made any team in the country. I remember going up to Atboy one day and seeing him hurling, and you were probably hurling yourself for it. Westmeath scored 115 and he scored 150.
Yeah, and I just had an interesting little thing about that relevant to today's fixtures. I want to congratulate Coola. They have a very strong Westmeath background in that the O'Callaghan's are Westmeath.
We're going to claim them anyway, Jerry.
We're going to claim them,
yeah.
And I recall specifically we beat Dublin in a National Hurling League match in Croke Park in 1983, and I would have known Maurice O'Callaghan, Con's dad, since he was a kid. And Maurice came over to me after that game. He says, "Geez, your number 12 is some hurler." And that was David Kilcoyne. And that was a couple of years before David really got the recognition. But he could see even then. I remember saying, "Oh yeah, he's decent, all right." But he didn't pick out, and we had about 5 or 6 excellent hurlers on that team. Excellent hurlers. I mean, that would have hurled probably with any county. But he picked him out a year or two before he got the national recognition. And I only thought of that today. He said, "Your number 12 is some hurler." And he was right. And it was David Kilcoyne.
Yeah.
Just one last thing, if you don't mind, Ray. St Mary's CBS are playing the semi-final on Thursday with a venue yet to be confirmed. So it's a Leinster semi-final. So keep an eye on social media, and any support that can be given to them, it'll be really, really appreciated. Like, they're a fine bunch who are going to be very competitive at minor, and some of them are done the 20 squad as well, you know.
Yeah, and indeed, congrats to the Kalash to Wirra football team who've made the Leinster final, and Motor playing a tie on Tuesday up against it, I think. But wouldn't it be great to have an all Westmeath final?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and I'm not sure where that, but I know all these fixtures are on the Westmeath GA website. So if you just, maybe closer to the day, they will have a venue on it as well. So for any listeners that are interested in that semi-final and the final, wherever it'll be played, you will pick it up on the Westmeath GA website. Yeah, and I think I'll just finish, Adrian. I know, just one quick mention on David Kilcoyne again, and that I was lucky enough to be on that team for a lot of his games for Westmeath, and he played wing forward, and I played most of my hurling back behind him as a wing back, and his work rate was phenomenal, and he had a streak in him that he could defend himself, and he could ball it or he could rough it with you if you wanted anyway at all, and he and probably the most unassuming person you could ever meet.
Even today.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, look, lads, I've one thing to do before we finish up now, and this is our question for our listeners and viewers, and the prize of a Westmeath hat, woolly hat, keep you warm for the winter. And our question for this week is, who was man of the match in the Westmeath Senior Hurling Championship final in 2024? Now, I'm going to give you 3 options. Number 1, Jack Gallagher. Number 2, David Williams. Or number 3, David O'Reilly. Now, there will be a link on our Instagram and all the forums, the Westmeath forums for that question. Put your answer on that if you know who it is. It's either Jack Gallagher, David Williams or David Riley. So get on to it, get a chance to win woolly cap, as I would call them. Support your county team as well. We'll have that for the winner. We'll announce it next week, and we'll arrange to get the prize handed over. We're going to do this for the whole of these podcasts, so the best of luck on that one. This is our first one, as we said. We have recorded it. Next week we are going to be live on the Westmeath YouTube channel. So for tonight, I want to thank Jerry Buckley as ever. Huge amount of knowledge. Adrian Moore as well, on my right hand side from Ringtown. He's idle there for any team now that's looking for a real good hurling manager. He might be available to come in and give you a dig out. Alan Mangan, unfortunately, is tied up for 2025. He's going to be trying to repeat a championship win and maybe go a step further in Leinster with Castone Gagan. But he knows he has a lot of work ahead of him to get that far as well. But it's early doors, lads, and we wish you all the best of luck. And thanks very much for joining us on this Iarmhi TV podcast, the first one of the year, the first one of 10. Again, sponsored by Dr.ie, and we thank Kieran Clark as well for the premises. So for tonight, from myself, Ray Gavin, it's goodbye for now, and join us next Monday night live for the next episode.